Jamf Teacher is a fantastic tool to use to guide the learning in your class. This helps students to manage what is on their iPad and not be distracted or have cognitive load by having too many options. The best way to do this is by creating a lesson template that you use to keep consistent lessons. So in this little video, we are going to look at how you can create a lesson template, how you can allow websites, allow certain apps, and place restrictions onto your students' iPads. We're simply going to head over to the lesson templates on the side here, and here you will see there are some lesson templates that I've already made. We're just going to jump straight into create a lesson template. We'll give it a title, and here we come into the interface. We have the option here to allow certain websites, the option to only allow certain apps to appear on a student's iPad, and we also have the option to restrict certain features on their iPad. On the left hand pane here, we can start the lesson from this lesson template if we wish. However, there is a better way to do that. We can also copy a lesson template and make tweaks, and we can share that with other members of staff as well by simply either airdropping or emailing that lesson template. Now we're just going to head over to allowed websites, and we can determine which websites the students are allowed to use in that lesson. If we go to add website, we can manually type in the website, or we can upload websites from a CSV file. I'm just going to upload those here. And here you can see the websites I have chosen are BBC Bitesize, Spark Maths, and a few other ones. As soon as I hit apply, these appear in allowed websites section. And because I have given them websites to use, one of the allowed apps is now Safari. I'm going to add a few more apps to this. Hit apply, and these are the only iPads that will be available to the students on their iPads. I can also add some restrictions. App categories top section will restrict certain types of apps. If you've already chosen the apps, there is no need to look at that. It's the device functionality that we can also restrict. So if we don't want to use the camera in that lesson, we can tap the camera button and that will disappear. But in this particular lesson, I want to turn off spell check and I want to turn off airdrop. I'm just going to apply. My template is now set, and every time I start this lesson, only those apps and those websites and those restrictions will appear on the student devices. Now, as I mentioned before, I can start that lesson from here by hitting start, and I can choose what class I would like it in. I can also choose how long I would like that lesson to last. But the best way to launch this is to go to classes. I'm just going to go into my test class. I've got all students chosen at the top. However, I only have one student in that class. In this instance, I'm going to set it for everybody. You'll notice on the side, allowed websites, allowed apps, and restrictions, there's nothing there. And that's because I haven't started the lesson template yet. In the top corner here, the one that looks like files, I'm going to tap onto that, and that is where I can start a lesson. So I'm starting my lesson with all students. You can choose the length of your lesson. What this means is those apps, websites, restrictions will be in place in the duration of your lesson. You would set that for your lesson so it resets when they go to the next class. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to choose 5 minutes, and I'm going to choose my, my test lesson. So I'm just going to tap on it. Now before I hit apply, I'm just going to change view so you can see the student iPad as well. So on the left hand side here, you will notice this is my staff iPad. On the right hand side, we have the student iPad with all of the different apps. Now I'm going to hit apply and notice what happens to the student iPad. All of the apps have disappeared except the apps that I want those students to actually have. Now if I head into Safari on the student iPad, Sparks Maths is available. But if I wanted to, say for example, go to Sky Sports, and I tapped, that's blocked. So you can control which websites you want to use in your lesson. Also, if I pull down on the student device, you will notice that at the top, the airdrop feature is grayed out because I have set that as a restriction. So the websites are only the websites that I can use. The apps are only the apps that I've chosen, the restrictions that I have put in place. If you have the Jamf student app, which you can see on the student device here on the bottom, if students tap onto that, you can see the lesson links in there in case they are not able to type in those links, you don't need the Jamf Student app. You can post those lesson links into a Showbie lesson. But they could, in theory, just tap onto, say, for example, if I go to Nash Geo Kids, that will open that web page for them there. Just going to go back to the teacher device now. You can see there's a countdown timer here that tells me that the lesson is going to run for another 3.5 minutes. If I want to change anything during the lesson, I could add in another website by tapping. And I could change and I could add something in there, or I could take something out. So if I didn't want them to use National Geographic, I could remove that. It doesn't remove it from the template, it just removes it from the lesson that's live at the moment. If I decide that they want to use a different app, say for example, I want them to use iMovie, I can add that in. And what you'll notice is iMovie has appeared here on the student device, so I can add things and change things mid-lesson. And I can take those restrictions off, or I can add restrictions. Now, if I want to finish the lesson early, I've got two options. I can tap here and I can clear all of the restrictions. The easiest way to get used to is to just leave the class that you're in and clear the restrictions and leave. And when I tap this button, the student iPad will come back to life on the second page. Think carefully about the apps that you want them to use, think carefully about the websites that you want them to use, and think carefully about the device functionality that you want available. And that is how to create a lesson template in Jamf Teacher.